Hey everybody, welcome back to GR Research. We've had a busy week this last week, and well, the last few weeks have been really busy. And a quick update on orders that we have in. Right now we've been waiting for various parts, and a lot of parts have come in. We're still waiting on about 1,000 resistors that are supposed to show up tomorrow, and that will allow us to get a lot of orders out the door. So if you've had an order in here with us and you're wondering when is it going to ship, it's about to ship. We'll probably get 150 orders out this coming week that are new orders and orders that have been waiting on stuff. So there's a lot going out, so hang on. We're getting to this stuff as fast as we can. We're not dragging our feet around here. We're waiting on stuff to be made. Speakers. We're doing Tannoy stuff. And we've got a big boy back here behind us. This big Tannoy was brought to us by a customer in Arizona. He actually brought both of these things to us. So for all you guys that say, hey, Danny, I need some help with my speakers. What can you do to... They've got this problem or that problem, and I want to upgrade them, but they're too big to send to you. They're not too big to send to me if you want them worked on bad enough. This baby here is over 200 pounds, and he brought both of them to me. And this is the Tannoy. It is the FSM model, and it's got a 15-inch coaxial driver up top. It's got a big 15-inch woofer down at the bottom, and I imagine there's going to be a lot we can do with this. I've taken basic measurements. There's definitely issues with them, but I think they're very fixable. And this is one of those speakers that has tons and tons of parts and switches and connections and options to wire them one way versus another way and all kinds of crazy stuff. And we're going to get a lot of that stuff out of the signal path. And I know I have a lot of you guys saying, Danny, how do you know that you're going to make it sound better? You haven't even heard it before and after. That's because a lot of these things are a given. You know, when you got lots of different switches and connections in the signal path, you got a really cheap wire, you got wire that's old, that's oxidized, super cheap parts, little iron core inductors, various connection points where things are being connected with a nut and a steel screw on it. I know that getting all that out of the signal path is going to be a revelation. It's going to improve these speakers a lot. It's a given. I know that it will. Even if I just replicated the exact crossover that was there and streamlined it and got all that stuff out of the signal path, it would be better. It absolutely sound better. But we're going to be upgrading the parts quality, the wire, the connections, everything about it is going to be so much better than it was. That, yeah, I know that it will sound better. Everyone who's done this before and understands how much difference these upgrades can make, that it's absolutely going to be better. And I know a lot of you guys keep saying, well, just making the frequency response flatter doesn't mean it sounds better. And you're right. Making the frequency response smoother makes it more accurate. It doesn't mean that it sounds better. I could have a speaker have a flat frequency response and sound flat. It could sound dead, lifeless, or it can have a flat frequency response and sound dynamic and open and transparent and everything. It's more than just how it measures. How it measures is a way we look at the problems. And a lot of times I say we're fixing this model or we're fixing that model. It's because they're problems. Stored energy is a problem. That's where a driver is continuing to ring. So it's been hit with a signal. Instead of it playing the signal and stopping it, playing and stopping, it's playing that signal, and then it's continuing at one frequency to just ring. That's a coloration that's not part of the music. And sometimes we can fix it. Sometimes we can go in and put more of an aggressive filter on it and remove output from that area and control it. Sometimes there's just an amplitude mismatch. The tweeter's playing 3 or 4 dB louder than the rest of the speaker. We can go in and balance that out and make it more accurate. It makes it easier to listen to when the tweeter's not in your face. So a lot of that stuff, I know we're making it sound better before I listen to it, because we're fixing problems. And we're looking at impedance curves sometimes where the impedance is really high or mismatched, and just going in and designing a filter that balances the impedance makes it an easier load for the amplifier to drive. The amplifier isn't having to see crazy loads, it's seeing an even load, and I know that's going to be a lot easier for a lot of amplifiers to drive. So in a lot of ways, this thing that we're doing, it's very much a given. We do it all the time. We know what's going to happen when we do one thing versus something else. And also, again, I've mentioned this before, we spend a lot of time A-Bing different parts and listening to how one part sounds compared to another part, in different qualities and different brands, and we know what those effects are. So when we put that into a circuit, we know what the effect is going to be versus what was in there before. So we've been doing this a while, guys. Trust me. I know some of you guys out there are skeptical, but the customers are not. The customers are repeat customers very often. So thank you, all of you who continue to order from us. Now let's talk about this little Tannoy over here. This is a little 10-inch coaxial driver, and there were some issues with this driver. There was some response issues with the woofer. It had a response there where it had a dip in the response and another peak, and some nasties going on after that, and there was some stored energy, and there was problems in the spectral decay, and the tweeter had a bit of a lumpiness to it, and it was a little bit of a mess. So let's look at what we did with this. Let's look at the measured frequency response of it from the factory, and yeah, it's lumpy. I mean, there's no way around it. It's within a plus or minus 3 dB range, but it's lumpy. So let's look at that and look at what the woofer's doing beyond the crossover point. Look at the top end of the woofer and all of that that's still carrying on. Now let's look at what we did with it after I put a real network on there. I corrected a lot of it. Notice the woofer is playing up to a certain range and it's just dropping. I did a little bit of an elliptical filter on the woofer and got all those nasties in the upper range, got that out of it. The tweeter needed a couple of notch filters on the lower end of the range to try and get those humps out of it and create a nice roll off. So now we're looking at plus or minus 1.5 dB or so over most of the range. It's a little lump still at the top, not too worried about a little bit of a rise there. And then the tweeter falls off a lot at the very top end. The tweeter just physically isn't going to play down that much lower, or that much, it's not going to play that much higher, I should say. So it's dropping off. There's really not much fixing that, but it's pretty up there, so not bad. Let's look at the spectral decay from the factory. Notice in that 1 to 2K region, you can see where the woofer's got some breakup. There's that little bit of ringing. What you're seeing in the traces is you're seeing it not fall sharply and just die. You're seeing it drop off and continuing to reach out there. That's continuing to play after the signal has stopped. Now let's look at the new spectral decay now that it's got this new filter on it, and as you can see, it's pretty clean. It drops off really well all the way across. I mean, this is a big transformation. This is where you really hear differences that you can see in the measured response. The spectral decay will tell you more about how something sounds than any single measurement you can take. It has the frequency response right there at the top, and then as that drops off, you're seeing it over time, how fast does it decay. And in this case, this little driver here with the new network on it decays pretty quickly. Not much stored energy at all compared to before, where you hear that little bit of a ringing. Also, let's look at the impedance curves. If you'll look at the factory impedance curve, you'll notice there's a huge rise at the crossover point. I mean, there's just a big peak there, and it goes off the page. It goes way up there. So the amplifier is seeing a super uneven load. It's seeing a load that varies a lot with frequency. So at some frequencies it's got current demand being asked of it, and in others it's not. It's not ideal what you'd want to present to an amplifier. If we're working with something like that and the filter has made it to a point where it is what it is, but it's caused a rise at the crossover point. A lot of times we'll go in and put an impedance trap there and bring that back down and make the impedance more of a linear response, so the amplifier sees a more consistent load. In this case, I didn't have to do anything like that, but if we look at the new impedance curve, we'll see it's a much more balanced, a lot smoother curve, a lot easier for this thing to drive. So all in all, this one's getting a pretty big improvement. Total cost, there's a few parts involved on this one. Total parts cost and some new wiring and one set of tube connectors, it's going to be $389. So if you've got the Tannoy System 10, if you're interested in me just sending parts out to you for you to put together, install, and make big improvements, I got it for you. So that's it this week for the Tannoy stuff. I've got a lot more stuff in line over here. There's a couple more Klipsch models. There's the Monitor audio speaker over there. There's 2 Yamo models. Still have the ATC over there. We're waiting on a new woofer to get here for that. We've got a Martin Logan that's come in, and a Polk, and a couple of other different models are in there. We're going to be doing videos on all of those soon, and I'm going to be knocking them out as fast as I can. Guys, I'm probably 5 to 6 weeks out still on design work, so bear with me on that. If you're wanting me to do something for you, you might wait a few weeks. Let me get caught up a little bit and then send me some new stuff and we'll start on it for you. So that's it for this episode, guys. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. I'm going to try to crank out some more and get some more of these videos done for you as soon as we can. Thank you again for watching. Hit the subscribe button and see you guys on the next episode.